So you guys just saw our battle report. Now, Rob, you want to tell us who won?
I won. It actually went really well for me. I thought it was over after he seized, but I was able to pull it out.
So we talked about it a little bit before how the matchup really wasn't great for you or anything like that. When he seizes, what do you think is going to happen versus what actually happened in the game?
Well, so I deployed because I figured that, I had to deploy the way I did. I had to go first. I was banking on him not seizing because I had to try to get as much stuff in there as I could. I was bunched up so I could get my Warlord trait with the reroll ones within 12 inches. So I was really, really grouped up. Also, Eldrad had Shroud, so I was hoping to get Shroud off, and everything. All my vehicles would be hard to kill, and I would have been in a really good place turn one. However, he seized.
Yeah.
So my initial thought was, shit, here we go. I pretty much thought it was over at that point, but some things went my way, and
yeah, definitely. You take a look, Trevor, and we looked at the way you think you're going second going in. You know that he's already rolled Invisibility, he's rolled Shroud. Mm-hmm. He's got Eldrad right there with the Beast Pack. What are you thinking as far as when you set your models down and go, I got this Beast Pack staring across from me. Oh, I rolled a 6. So is the idea then just like, I got to thin that herd, I got to get him off the table?
I knew seizing would be huge for me, so I set up in kind of a position to take advantage of it. Put everything just far enough out of range so that way I can move up 6, get all my shots off on the Beast Pack or whatever I needed to. Really exciting moment when I seized. The first Riptide overheated on its shot, which could have made that one a bit better in my favor. Instead of taking out half the Beast Pack, take out 3/4 or so, maybe even more of it. But I was pretty happy with how things started, clearly. So.
Yeah, because you saw how effective the Beast Pack was even when it was down to incredibly dwindling numbers. It didn't help that Eldrad's just kind of like, we're just going to take these Riptides off the table now.
Yeah,
just put them away.
Eldrad was probably MVP.
Yeah,
right
Psychic Shrieking 2 Riptides was pretty huge.
Yeah, absolutely huge.
Kind of tough.
Another thing that was really big.
Baron tanking that was MVP there.
Baron tanking about 13
something like that.
wounds, 15 wounds.
Yeah, there's a turn I failed the invisibility, so I threw Baron up front, and he lookout surged what wouldn't kill the insta-kill the swarms. Mm-hmm. So I lookout surged as many wounds as I could, but there was a couple that I had to just try to take. So
yeah, and some of these games of 40K in the last 2 editions, if you can get a guy who can tank the wounds, and all you have to do is not roll a 1 with a guy with a 2+ invuln, good on you, that sort of thing. Another thing we found huge in this edition, and we've talked about it almost ad nauseum at this point, is Jink. You guys both have stuff that takes advantage of Jink in your army. So Trevor, do you want to talk a little bit about pretty much how near the end of the game when it was getting tough and everything, you still had Jink saves on a lot of stuff, even if it couldn't shoot. Even if it didn't have any weapons on it, you could still use Jink to your advantage. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, my tanks all would have probably died the first time something shot at them, at most the second. Instead, I ended up with 4 or 5 on turn. I had 5 on turn 6, 3 or 4 going into turn 7. So that was insane. And then you had Shrouding on some of yours plus Jink, so it was a lot of basically impossible to kill tanks.
Yeah, you're talking about 2-up Jink?
Yeah.
At that point?
I had a 2-up to begin with, going down to 3-up after Warlord died, and you had a 2-up everybody who was around Shrouding. So.
Yeah. So it was, Rob, we talked about in the Gamecast that you guys actually had, how pretty much Jink completely saved you the entire time.
Yeah.
How'd you feel like this time when you had the opportunity to go aggressive and come forward? How do you balance Jinking with the fact that, now you only get the snapshot?
It was tough. Most of his shooting actually didn't matter because it ignores cover. So it actually made a lot of easy decisions on my part to not Jink. In fact, there was a couple times where I got shot with the eye and I was like, you know what, I need shooting next turn. I'm just going to hope he can't do it.
Can't hope the dice went your way.
So the Jink is nice against what I played. It's not as useful as it would have been. But it's good. When I had Shroud up, it was even better.
Yeah.
So.
And how big was it during the turn when you got his Warlord actually off the table? You're talking about, we talked about as soon as you roll your Warlord trait.
Was that turn 1?
That was turn 1. So, going into the game, I knew those broadsides had to die. They put up too much shooting, basically removed one of my things a turn, so they had to go away. So I dumped all 3 of my Ravengers into them. I felt really good because since he put so much fire in my beast pack, I didn't really have to worry about jinking with any of my other ships, so they were free to unload. So I unloaded. Unfortunately, he had stealth ruins, so I didn't kill as much as I'd like to, even though every time he failed, I would insta-kill one of the broadsides. But I had to get through the Warlord first, or at least get him down to the point where he'd start lookout stirring. And that was after dumping all 3 Ravengers into him. I was able to take it out with some two Venom splinter cannons. So it was lucky on my part, and that worked out really well.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about it. I mean, as soon as you get your Warlord off the table and you kind of go, well, I can't play the Hide in the Ruins game nearly as much as I want to, but you're still playing Tau, so you're still going to be back there on that back line, letting go of fire or anything like that. At that point, when you get the first turn off, you thin out the beast pack, but then you return and your broadsides are gone, which they had to do a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah, that was like a 300-point unit that just died on turn 1, along with my Warlord and all of his buffs.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, what do you point to at that point? Are you going to point to be like, well, maybe my Devilfish can do some shooting, or is it just all Riptides at that point? You're like, Riptides are going to be my firepower.
I mean, I hope for the Devilfish to be able to pink off some armor. Luckily, I'm playing against somebody who has a bunch of armor 10, armor 11 stuff, so I can still potentially pen some stuff. But definitely the Riptides all of a sudden become the #1 priority to try and do my best to keep them safe and keep them around to do as much shooting as possible.
Yeah, and as we've seen going into the new edition, Psychic Phase is completely new. They overhauled it. They borrowed a little bit from Fantasy, that sort of thing. You didn't have any spells.
Nope.
But Rob a few times when he was rolling warp charges during his turn rolled 6s. So 2 of those turns he had 6s. That means you get a decent amount of dice.
Yeah.
Rob obviously is more because you have how many extra warp charges?
He was able to shut down my invisibility that turn.
Yeah.
Which
is absolutely huge. Invisibility's huge. Shrouding is absolutely huge. But Psychic Streak.
Yeah.
Rolling, what'd you roll, a 16 on Psychic Streak?
No, it was
12.
Yeah, 16.
Was it 16?
664.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Absolutely stupid. How do you feel going with the new Psychic Phase? You've played a few games, you played with Psychers, you played against Psychers.
Yeah, I've been playing a bunch of demons, so I'm used to having a bunch of dice.
How do you feel, is it balanced? Do you feel like, is there some tweaks that were going on? Is there anything you'd want to see in, anything you want to see out of it?
No, I think it's really good. I think Rob's list took good advantage of it. Psychers definitely have diminishing returns once you start taking like 5, 6, whatever some of the armies can do. Really having 1 or 2 really strong Psychers goes a long way, and you just had Eldrad just pumping out dice, getting off easily his 3-4 spells a turn.
Yeah. And how'd you feel on the defensive? Because you're sitting there and you have dice to spend, and you're kind of playing a game of chicken with Rob the entire time, sort of.
Yeah, it was just a matter of picking battles. Early on, I went for the Shrouding to try and be able to pick off some tanks. And then as things progressed later on, I went for the invisibility in the 1 turn that he only rolled it on. What was it, 1, 2 dice, something like that?
Yeah, I rolled like 2 and then you rolled 3 6s.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of picking your battles. Wait, see what they roll. Have one in your head that you're trying to deny, and then if they roll really low on one of their other important ones, just take advantage of the opportunity and try and deny it.
And we've talked about before, one of the skills you really have to have in 40k is threat prioritization. And you're going to know what spells your enemy's going to be able to cast. You don't know how many dice they're going to throw at it, but that's something you got to take a look at and go, if I let invisibility through, he can still shroud guys. Mm-hmm. If I shut down shrouding, then he might have invisibility. It's sort of something you have to take a look at. But Rob, how do you actually manage that?
Well, I mean, for me, it's first and foremost get invisibility off. It wouldn't have been as important if I didn't lose all my beast pack in that first turn.
Yeah.
But after I lost them, it was like, okay, I have to get this off every turn. After that, I would be like, okay, am I in range for Psychic Shriek? So I'd do that if I could. If I was in a position for the Shroud, I would do that as well. That'd probably be the 3rd on my priority list because it's just an extra bonus. And then after that, if I had any dice lying over, I'd dominate his guys just to force the leadership checks. Maybe they don't do something. Although every time I did it, it didn't matter anyway. So.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice, like maybe I could have got it off on a Riptide, and then the Riptide fails, doesn't shoot me. Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
like, not great, but there's a chance there. So
It's better than nothing.
yeah, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And if I don't have anything else to cast, then might as well throw it on something.
Yeah, but it's we're returning to days where your psychic powers aren't auto casts all the time, so it's something to definitely take a look at coming forward. Another thing we're going to look at is army viability. I mean, you played Dark Eldar, something a little bit interesting. You played Venoms, you played Ravagers, you played some Jet Bikes, you played Beastpack.
Yeah.
What do you think about that coming forward? Is there something not as competitive about the list that you tweak? Is there something seeing about after getting shot off the table in the beginning?
Yeah, so far, like, this is the second time I played that specific list, and I'm really enjoying it so far. The little Reaver jet bikes are nice little squads. You know, usually people kind of ignore it, except for Trevor, because, you know, he hated it the first game I played him. But, I mean, you know, it's two little 3-man squads. They just kind of zip around the board. If people want to dump fire to them, sure, they get a 3-up jank because it's skilled rider. It's a night fight, you know, it's 2-up. So they're pretty durable, and they just fly around and, you know, blade bind people. If they're still alive towards the end of the game, they can try to grab an objective or something. The 2 Wind Riders, great for objective secured. There's so many different things on the board that the last thing my opponent usually worries about is trying to kill the Wind Riders from the back of the table. You know, the Venoms are good. You know, lots of shots. Obviously, you know, in this game they did good because he, you know, put all those guys on the table. If he would have kept them in his vehicles, it would have been a lot harder. Because then all my splitter cannons would have been worthless. You know, I'm not sold on the blasters. They're nice. They don't really ever do anything for me. The Ravagers are good. And the Beast Pack is great. I think if there's anything I'd like to do is maybe try to start with the Homunculus in the Beast Pack for that first pain token for feeling no pain right off the bat.
Yeah. A little bit extra survivability.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure you guys are all aware that last edition, the FAQ said, you know, power from pain units are the only ones that benefit from the pain token. However, that is no longer in the FAQ. And the pain token say confers to the Dark Eldar to the unit with pain tokens. So the ability for the Beast Pack to get pain tokens, I feel, is pretty huge.
Yeah, it's something you guys can definitely take advantage of, because Beastar is one of those Death Star armies or whatever that we saw from the last edition that's really not that much, not hurt coming forward, and if anything, slightly buffed.
You know, I kind of like that I don't have to dedicate, like before it'd be like two Farseers. I like the fact that I can just run the one and then just try to shoot for invisibility. But
yeah. And then, Trevor, how do you feel about playing Tau?
It was okay. A lot of the internet has, for some reason, been saying Tau is bad in 7th. I don't get what they're talking about. Tower's still totally viable. Avesta Star definitely gone, and that was, you know, what a lot of people thought of Tau as these days. And, you know, I really like it. I definitely think I might try some tweaks with the troops. I certainly, especially against your list, had some trouble punching through and getting to the back. Might go back to trying to play some Kroot in there or something like that, something to outflank on the back end or something along those lines. But, you know, overall, I liked it. Having the Devilfish with their 3-up cover was definitely good.
Yeah, sure.
Fire Warriors were better than I expected them to be.
Yeah, they were planking some shots and stuff.
Yeah, so overall I liked it. Definitely some tweaks to be made. Something to get towards the backfield is definitely important, but Tower definitely good in this edition. So
I'm interested to see how both of these armies are actually going to do throughout the entire life of 7.
yeah.
Yeah, and all I'm going to say is thank you guys for the games, and thank you guys for watching. We're going to have more battle reports at 7 coming up for you guys, so we'll see you on the battlefield.